Stop the scroll. Stop whatever you're doing. Because Jaidyn Alexis just walked onto a live stream, looked dead into the camera, and detonated the loudest bomb this baby mama war has ever seen. And I mean the loudest. Blueface thought he could sit in front of Nevaeh's newborn, in front of the whole internet, and casually announce that the 2 children he shares with Jaidyn Alexis are, his own word, replaceable. Replaceable. Say that out loud one more time, and try to keep your face neutral. He thought he could say that on a Sunday, and be back on his regular Monday like nothing happened. What Blueface didn't count on is that Jaidyn Alexis was already awake, already logged in, and already loading the clip. By now, every corner of this timeline saw it coming, and half of you already know where the smoke is coming from. But nobody, not one soul on this app, was ready for the level Jaidyn Alexis took it to tonight. Roll the footage, because the receipts are already loud. She sat down. She lit the room up. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't post a soft pink Instagram note about co-parenting boundaries. Jaidyn Alexis logged on, cracked her knuckles, and asked her chat one question that told you exactly what kind of night this was going to be. Who do I start with first? The 2 women he's had running behind him, or the man himself? That was the opening bell. And once the bell rings, Jaidyn Alexis doesn't do rounds, she does executions. Now let me back this up for anybody who just walked in the door. Blueface, fresh off a prison stretch, fresh off a delayed baby that still hasn't cracked the seal, sat next to Nevaeh with a smile on his face and told the internet he was starting fresh, building a whole new family from scratch, leaving Jaidyn, his own words, stuck with the kids. Stuck with them. Like they were furniture he didn't feel like moving. Like Javon and Journey were something he checked out of the return window on. And then, as if that wasn't already the biggest insult a father could throw at his own bloodline, Blueface leaned into that phrase, ran with it, and posted it. He didn't take it back. He didn't clean it up. He fed it to the algorithm like it was breakfast. Jaidyn Alexis saw the clip. And Jaidyn Alexis did what Jaidyn Alexis does. She waited until the exact worst possible moment for Blueface, and then she pulled the trigger. Eyes up. This is the part they don't want clipped, and this is the part that's going to run this whole app for the next 72 hours. Because when Jaidyn Alexis opened that stream, she wasn't reading from a script. She wasn't stalling for content. She was already at boiling point. Her blood, in her own words, was already lit. And the first thing out of her mouth wasn't about her. It was about Javon and Journey. My children, she said, are not disposable. My children, she said, are not something you do on weekends when you feel like it. My children, she said, are a part of me. And if you thought otherwise, Blueface, you played yourself, and you played yourself in front of everybody. That was the tape. That was the mission statement. Everything else that followed was the ammunition. And there was a lot of ammunition. Take the sugar off it for 1 second. Jaidyn Alexis came with a whole quiver tonight, and Blueface caught every single arrow. She started with the family angle, because that's the wound that's still open. She reminded her audience, and by extension reminded Blueface, that when he tried to replace what he had with Jaidyn Alexis by starting a whole new bloodline with Nevaeh, the universe itself refused to cooperate. That baby, she said, still won't pop. 2 months past due, she said. 2 months. And keep this in your back pocket, because the way Jaidyn Alexis delivered that line was not a joke. It wasn't a shot. It was a prophecy dressed up as a stream comment. She looked into the camera like a woman who was tired of pretending she didn't see the pattern. Javon and Journey, she said, cannot be replaced. Won't be replaced. Never will be replaced. And every time she said the word replaced, Blueface timeline lost another 100 fans. Then Jaidyn Alexis pivoted. And this is the pivot that broke the internet. She looked at Blueface, through the camera, through the timeline, through however many miles were between them, and asked one of the most brutal questions ever asked in a hip-hop feud stream. She asked if Blueface, the loudest, most hypermasculine, most publicly heterosexual man on the internet, was maybe, possibly, not who he says he is. She invoked a name that hasn't hit the airwaves in months, a name that Blueface, in his own quiet moments, probably hoped had been buried. 7 Bang. The Dreads. Jaidyn Alexis said, on live, without hesitation, without stuttering, that she has seen things, that she was in the room, that she knows too much, and that if Blueface wants to keep coming at her with these disposable kid comments, she will start opening those receipts one at a time until the entire timeline is drowning in them. That's not a shot. That's a mushroom cloud. Now here's where the whole thing folds. Because Blueface, for months now, has been operating like a man who thinks nobody has anything on him. He's been out here dragging Jaidyn Alexis on every platform, calling her broke, calling her stuck, calling her irrelevant, calling her a placeholder. And Jaidyn Alexis, up until tonight, had mostly let it ride. She'd throw a jab here, a subliminal there, a stream rant every few weeks, but she'd been holding the nuclear codes in her back pocket. Tonight she walked into the missile silo and started punching buttons. Blueface, in his infinite wisdom, thought Jaidyn Alexis was going to stay quiet forever. Blueface thought Jaidyn Alexis wasn't going to remember every single receipt. Blueface thought that because he had Nevaeh sitting next to him on his newest live streams, that the mother of his first 2 children was somehow going to fade into the wallpaper. And that, right there, is where Blueface fundamentally miscalculated. Because Jaidyn Alexis doesn't fade. Jaidyn Alexis catalogs. Jaidyn Alexis waits. And when Blueface pushed the one button she does not let anybody push, Javon and Journey, Jaidyn Alexis opened the vault. And what came out of that vault was not pretty. She dragged him on the baby shower guest list. Only person who showed up, she said, was Adam. And she said Adam pulled up in a car. As in, didn't even step out. As in, the video podcast machine himself couldn't be bothered to walk through the door. DDG, she said, wouldn't touch a Blueface baby shower with a 10-foot pole. And half the internet nodded because they've been watching that relationship rot in real time for months. All those celebrities Blueface likes to name drop when he's on his little tirades, none of them, Jaidyn Alexis said, showed up when it mattered. And then she twisted the knife. She pointed out that a baby shower isn't supposed to be a celebrity meet and greet in the first place. A baby shower is supposed to be family. And if you have to measure your baby shower by whose Instagram checkmark walked through the door, Blueface, then maybe the actual family part of your life isn't as full as you keep pretending it is. That right there is what a surgical dismantling looks like. But she wasn't done. Jaidyn Alexis is never done. She was just warming up. Because next, she turned her attention to another woman in the orbit, a woman who apparently had been shooting jabs at Jaidyn Alexis's finances for weeks. And Jaidyn Alexis pulled up Google in the middle of her own stream. Real time. Live. She typed the search bar in front of the entire audience, and she said, let's find out where you actually live, and let's find out what those apartments cost, and let's find out if you're really in a position to be calling anybody broke. She said Baltimore. She said 2-bedroom. She said $1,600 a month. She said do the math and get back to me. And then, as the mic drop of all mic drops, she said if my life savings were really 20 grand like you claim, I couldn't be living in California, because California doesn't work like that. California laughs at 20 grand. California eats 20 grand for breakfast. And I'll say what a lot of the commentary channels aren't going to say out loud. Jaidyn Alexis was cooking. Overcooking, even. Every single line she dropped was landing. Every single shot she took was connecting. And the reason it was landing isn't because Jaidyn Alexis is the world's greatest rapper or the world's greatest debater. The reason it was landing is because she was telling the truth loud enough to embarrass everybody who's been quietly agreeing with her all year. Type your verdict in the comments. Is Jaidyn Alexis cooking, or is she coping? Because half this timeline is about to argue this all night. Now let me bring in the other side, because I don't run a one-note channel, and I'm not about to run a one-note breakdown. Blueface has a case too. A smaller case, a shakier case, but a case. When Blueface was locked up, the story he tells is that Jaidyn Alexis didn't hold him down the way a man in his position expects the mother of his children to hold him down. There were phone calls she didn't take. There were commissary situations that didn't add up. There was a moment, allegedly, involving another man. A travel industry rumor that Blueface has been chewing on ever since. And by the time Blueface walked out of that prison, in his mind, the relationship was already a corpse. He didn't leave Jaidyn Alexis. He walked out of a building where Jaidyn Alexis, in his telling, had already left him first. And that context matters. That context matters a lot. Because when a man does 2 years in a cell and comes out feeling like the woman on the outside didn't ride, that man's ego doesn't recover overnight. That man's trust doesn't come back. That man starts looking for a rebuild, and Nevaeh became the rebuild. Whether Blueface loves Nevaeh, or whether Nevaeh is just the vehicle Blueface is using to prove a point to Jaidyn Alexis, Only Blueface truly knows. But watch the pattern. Every single time Blueface goes on live with Nevaeh, the topic somehow rotates back to Jaidyn Alexis. Every single time Blueface posts, the caption somehow tags Jaidyn Alexis without tagging her. Every single time Blueface does an interview, the interviewer has to remind him that Nevaeh is the current chapter, not Jaidyn Alexis. You cannot claim you moved on from a woman while dedicating your entire personality to her. That is Blueface's whole problem in one sentence. And Jaidyn Alexis, on tonight's stream, said that sentence in about 40 different flavors. She said Blueface can't stop talking about her because Blueface can't stop thinking about her. She said Blueface is broadcasting a breakup that already happened months ago because Blueface needs the internet to validate a decision he's not sure he made. She said Blueface will call her, text her, message her mama, message his own mama about her, and then get on live and pretend she's a stranger. She said, and this is the line that's going to be on every commentary channel by tomorrow morning, that Blueface would ask for her by name on his deathbed, and she wouldn't even show up to close his eyes. The chat went into cardiac arrest, and it should have, because that's not a woman who's still hoping. That's a woman who has already grieved, already buried the version of Blueface she used to love, and is now speaking about him the way you speak about somebody you outlived. Cold, dry, done. Now here's where I want everybody to pump the brakes, because there's a version of this story where Jaidyn Alexis becomes a saint by the end of this breakdown, and that's not the story either. Take the sugar off it. Jaidyn Alexis has receipts of her own that Blueface could open tomorrow. Jaidyn Alexis has moments in this timeline that don't play well in slow motion. Jaidyn Alexis has been photographed, been recorded, been screenshotted saying things about Blueface that don't paint her as the perfect co-parenting angel either. Neither of these two people are innocent. Neither of these two people are wrong all the way through. This is not a hero movie. This is a wrestling match, and both of them are wearing brass knuckles under the gloves. But, and here is the however that matters, you don't call your children disposable. You don't do that. You don't do that if you're the father. You don't do that if you're the mother. You don't do that if you're the uncle 2 houses down. And when Blueface reached for that word, when Blueface picked replaceable out of the whole dictionary and pointed it at Javon and Journey, Blueface handed Jaidyn Alexis the exact permission slip she needed to walk into this stream tonight and demolish him. Blueface built the platform Jaidyn Alexis is standing on right now. Blueface is holding the ladder Jaidyn Alexis is using to bury him. That is what makes tonight, in the long history of Blueface controversies, different. This isn't a beef. This is a public execution with parental consent. Let me hit you with the tea nobody else is going to bring up. Blueface, over the last 3 years, has burned through more social capital than any active hip-hop figure of his generation. He has feuded with his mother. He has feuded with his sister. He has feuded with Chrisian Rock in front of a national TV audience. He has feuded with Jaidyn Alexis on every stream she's ever opened. He has feuded with Nevaeh in the middle of his own driveway. He has feuded with DJ Academics. He has feuded with Adam 22. He has feuded with fans who paid money to see him. He has feuded, at one point, with a Chuck E. Cheese employee. At what point does the pattern stop being everybody else's fault and start being Blueface's fault? No spin, no filter, the pattern is Blueface. The variable is Blueface. The one constant across every single one of these fires is the man striking the match. And Jaidyn Alexis, on tonight's stream, said that quiet part out loud in a way that even Blueface's own supporters had a hard time defending in the chat. And this is where Jaidyn Alexis pulled her masterstroke. Because after 10 straight minutes of demolition, after cataloging every failed relationship, every no-show at his own baby shower, every locked-up prison receipt, every real-time apartment price Google search, Jaidyn Alexis pivoted one final time, and she said the thing that is going to keep this feud in the algorithm for the entire rest of the month. She said Blueface, with all his hypersexual, hyper-macho, hyper-loud posturing, is hiding something. That any man who screams that loud about who he is not, usually is exactly the thing he's screaming about. She said Blueface has never actually addressed the 7-bang situation. She said Blueface has never actually addressed the receipts that live in her phone. She said if Blueface wants to keep dragging her, she will start dropping those receipts one folder at a time, and Blueface will not survive the download. That's not a threat. That's a business plan. Now, And this is the part every single commentary channel is about to skate over. So let me lock it in. Jaidyn Alexis is not necessarily going to release those receipts. That's the genius of it. She doesn't need to. She just needs everybody to believe she has them. She just needs Blueface to lie awake at night wondering which one is coming out first. She just needs Nevaeh to sit on the couch next to Blueface and ask him what receipts, exactly, is she talking about? She just needs the algorithm to keep this story hot for another week, another month, another baby shower, another delayed birth announcement. And Jaidyn Alexis has already won the war of narrative without firing a single one of her actual bullets. That is chess. That is not checkers. And Blueface, historically, has never been playing chess. Half the timeline right now is saying Jaidyn Alexis went too far. Half the timeline is saying Blueface deserved every single word. And a growing third slice of the timeline is realizing something none of us wanted to admit. Jaidyn Alexis and Blueface, for all the noise, are locked in the exact same trauma spiral. She can't stop talking about him. He can't stop talking about her. They are two people who have publicly moved on and privately never left. And the tragedy inside the comedy of this whole feud is that Javon and Journey, the two children whose name Blueface used the word replaceable next to, are watching all of this play out on the same internet the rest of us are watching it on. One day, maybe not today, maybe not this year, but one day. That's the part that stings. That's the part nobody is putting on a thumbnail. Blueface, if you're watching, and let's not pretend he isn't watching, he watches every single one of these. This is your off-ramp. This is your exit. You do not get another one. You have one chance, right now, to log off, delete the last 3 streams, and issue an actual, human, unsponsored apology to your children. Not to Jaidyn Alexis. She's a grown woman. She'll survive this feud. She's already surviving it in real time. To Javon. To Journey. Because when they are old enough to type your name into a search bar, the very first result that is going to load is the video where their father called them disposable. That is the digital tattoo Blueface just gave his own kids. And no amount of new family, new baby, new live stream content is going to laser that off. Jaidyn Alexis knows that. That's why she went so hard tonight. That's why every insult she launched had a mother's grip behind it. That's why she wasn't rapping, wasn't performing, wasn't doing bits. She was fighting for the historical record. She was fighting to make sure that when her kids are old enough to Google their own father, they also find a video of their mother refusing to let him get away with it. That's the layer under the layer. That's why tonight hit different. That's why the entire commentary industry is going to be running this footage on loop for the next 2 weeks. And that brings us to the last piece of tonight's puzzle, because Jaidyn Alexis did leave one door slightly cracked open. And if I'm reading her body language correctly, she cracked it open on purpose. At the very end of the stream, right before she signed off, Jaidyn Alexis stopped, took a breath, and said something that felt out of rhythm with everything that had come before it. She said, and this is close to her exact wording, that she's not the kind of woman who takes a man back after everything Blueface has already done. She said she's not one of those women. She said other women let their men disrespect them, kick them while they're pregnant, deny their kids, and then crawl right back. But she's not that. She said it 3 times. She said it like she was trying to convince herself as much as the chat. And when a person has to say something 3 times, unprompted, on live television, the internet notices. Half of the commentary class is already saying Jaidyn Alexis was protesting a little too much. Half is saying she was closing a door for good. And the third slice, the slice I lean on, because I've been watching these two for years now, thinks Jaidyn Alexis was making sure that if she ever does take Blueface back, the internet will remember she at least tried to burn that bridge first. Insurance policy. Plausible deniability. Future PR runway. Jaidyn Alexis is smart in a way Blueface has never once given her credit for. And that lack of credit is a huge part of why they're not together anymore. So where does this go from here? Let me paint the next 30 days for you, because if you've been watching this arc as long as I have, you already know the shape of it. Blueface is going to respond within 48 hours. He's going to go live. He's going to bring Nevaeh with him for optics. He's going to say Jaidyn Alexis is lying about 7bang. He's going to try to counter Google something about her. He is going to invoke the prison timeline again. And then, roughly 6 days later, one of the 2 children, most likely a birthday, a school event, a doctor's appointment, is going to force these 2 people into the same room again. There will be pictures. There will be smiles. There will be a soft focus Instagram story of them sitting 3 feet apart pretending the last 2 weeks never happened. And then, mark this, because I am telling you now, Blueface will say something disposable about the kids one more time. He will not learn. Blueface has never learned. That is the tragedy of Blueface. That is the tragedy of this entire storyline. That is the loop we've been trapped inside since the day Christian Rock first walked into his life. And it is the loop we will be trapped inside long after Nevaeh's baby finally, mercifully, arrives. Jaidyn Alexis is not going to lose this fight. Jaidyn Alexis has already won it. Jaidyn Alexis won it the moment Blueface picked the word replaceable and pointed it at Javon and Journey. Everything after that was just cleanup. Everything after that was just the timeline documenting the fall. Type your verdict in the comments. Is Jaidyn Alexis the most tactical baby mama in hip-hop right now? Or is she a woman who still hasn't let go? Is Blueface a strategist, or is he a self-destruct button with a face tattoo? Are Javon and Journey being protected, or are they being pulled into a narrative that will follow them for the rest of their lives? Every one of those questions matters, and every one of those questions is going to shape whichever version of this feud you're watching 6 months from now. Because here's what nobody wants to admit. The reason this story keeps landing on your For You page, the reason this story keeps eating clicks, the reason Jaidyn Alexis' stream tonight is about to be the most clipped live stream of the week, is because every single one of us knows a Blueface. Every single one of us knows a Jaidyn Alexis. Every single one of us has seen a version of this exact fight play out in our own family, on our own block, in our own group chats. Jaidyn Alexis is not just fighting for herself tonight. Jaidyn Alexis is fighting on behalf of every woman who was told by her ex that her kids were an inconvenience. Jaidyn Alexis is fighting on behalf of every mother who watched a man walk out the door and rebuild a family down the street. Jaidyn Alexis is fighting on behalf of every woman who bit her tongue for 2 years and finally, tonight, decided to spit. That's why the numbers are going to be historic. That's why the algorithm is going to grab this story by the collar and drag it across every recommendation feed for the next 10 days straight. That's why Blueface, whether he responds or whether he stays silent, has already lost the round. So watch the next 48 hours carefully. Watch which commentary channels run the stream verbatim and which ones try to spin it. Watch which of Blueface's usual defenders go quiet and which ones double down. Watch whether Nevaeh posts. Watch whether Christian Rock posts. Watch whether the mother-in-law posts. Watch whether 7bang, whoever that is, decides tonight is his big break moment or whether he ducks his own name for the rest of the calendar year. Every one of those moves is going to write the next chapter, and every one of those moves is going to hit this channel first. Because we don't do rumors. We do timelines. We do receipts. We do the version of the story where you leave here knowing more than when you walked in. Jaidyn Alexis blew the roof off tonight. Blueface is on the clock. Javon and Journey deserve better than both of them right now, and hopefully, one day, both of these parents grow into the versions of themselves that those 2 kids need. Until then, timeline stays open, receipts stay hot, and this fight is nowhere close to done. Drop your verdict, drop your prediction, drop the name of the next person you think is about to get pulled into this vortex, and I'll see you in the next one, because trust me, the next one is going to be even louder than this. Blueface is loading a response as we speak, and when it drops, this channel will be the first to break it down, line by line, receipt by receipt, until the whole story finally makes sense. Peace.